Hey guys, it's Jason with Kentucky Sustainable Living. I was going to do a quick little intro to some of our medical training. I've got a few short clips of stuff that we did last Friday and Saturday here at my place. It was a good time. We had Chuck Peoples come down from Appalachian Medical Solutions. He's got a YouTube channel. I'll see if I can link it in the description. And Chase, his son, came down and was a co-instructor in our dummy for the weekend that we got to practice on. But we had a medical class for some of our guys and gals in the group on Friday and Saturday. Learned a lot. Did some tactical stuff. The tactical cool guy ninja stuff. We did that. Your tourniquets, chest seals, nasal pharyngeal airways, that kind of stuff. But the main focus of the class was patient assessment and prolonged care. A lot of the guys really concentrate on the cool ninja stuff to get you the medevac and save your life right then. We wanted to concentrate a lot on homestead medicine. If you cut yourself with a chainsaw, cut yourself with your machete or hoe or something like that, stuff that can happen in everyday life, something that might happen right here, and you have to treat it yourself when the grid is down or something like that. So we focused on that, had a real good time, learned a lot of good stuff. We'll probably have some more classes like that again, open some more spots up and stuff like that for people that want to come. If you're interested, get a hold of me. We can figure something out about doing some training. We've got some more training and stuff coming up and some stuff in the works. But it was a real good time. I appreciate Chuck taking the time and coming down. And like I said, here's just a few clips of some of the stuff we did. Most of the stuff that's on the YouTube channel were lives that we did. We couldn't do everything live because we spent probably 20 hours total in classroom and actually doing the hands-on stuff between those 2 days. But it was a really good time. And then here's some clips of some fun stuff we did. And I actually did take a staple and had the staple removed. Shelly from Two Old Crows Homestead stapled my arm to practice. No lidocaine or anything to numb it. And to be honest with you, it was not near as bad as what I expected. But we saw that on the live. On one of the lives, you can see it. It's almost at the very end of one of them. But I appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe. And y'all have a good day. I'll just airdrop it to you.
Okay. Yeah. We're gonna film. I'm gonna film some of the stuff we've got coming up. If you want to film the splinting and stuff like that, you may even want to go live for that.
Is that your first section of gauze?
She used the combat goals on that one.
I used the whole combat gauze.
Which is 4 yards.
So that's 4 yards.
I told him I used the combat gauze on him.
It's still not even fully packed.
No, all this was in there.
It's longer. That's
It
3
just felt like
yards.
it just felt like it packed different.
It does pack. It's got a very tight weave. Wound
All that was
packing
in
gauze
there,
is
and
the
you still
same
had
thing.
more room.
You can use regular. Thinking, oh, it's thicker. It's probably going to fall.
Yeah, well, actually, I thought the one I used yesterday because I wanted to
Yeah,
see.
so even the wound packing gauze is that same weave. The only difference,
Packing a gun strap wound, Jason?
right.
Yeah, I got shot in
The
the
only
crotch.
difference is $50, wound packing gauze, $2.
Sucks when that happens. Having a bad day.
I would rather be able to have more than have. I mean,
At least it was
great,
Chase that
does
shot
help.
me, and
But
he's
a
not a
lot
good
of
shot.
The difference in you're still stopping it bleeding. You may stop it a little bit quicker and help. But if you pack it right with that wound packing gauze, look at the same way.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same with everything.
Yeah.
Negatives, some of this.
Check out
but
Jason's
some
new
of that
wheelchair throne.
type of situation
Right.
in your
This is his latest, greatest find he's so excited about. I'm gonna be honest with you though, people that had to sit in these back in the day were not comfortable, because it is not comfortable.
No.
It's comfortable.
It's not comfortable.
It's totally comfortable. I've sat in it all day.
That's why you had to go get that towel yesterday. and
Placed
put
on the
it in.
concrete floor.
It's better than sitting on the floor.
I wouldn't sit on the floor.
He's just doing it because it's his throne.
It's
That's
his
what he likes to
throne.
say. It's his throne.
It's
so that way
awesome.
He can say he's King Jason.
Hey, if it wasn't in such good shape, I was going to paint the wheels.
Hey, you know what? I would have bought that. I'm just gonna be honest with you because that really is. It's a cool antique to have, and especially that's just an odd piece of medical thing.
Oh, yeah.
Hell, you ought to send a picture of that to John Willis. I bet he's gonna ask you, where'd you get that?
Yeah. I thought about painting the
Because
wheels.
you know how he likes his oddities.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff like that. I guarantee you.
I thought about painting the wheels gold just to bling it up
And he
some.
mentioned last night a little different.
Come on, Chase.
What's the technical name of it?
The traction
Look
splint.
at it, just slid right into place.
Yeah, how about that?
Pretty awesome.
So that's a traction splint, and we're going to use this on what? A mid-shaft femur fracture. Why would we not want to use if we suspect a high femur fracture? In other words, it's up around the ball of the femur that hooks into the hip and the pelvis. Why would we not want to use it?
Pull that out of it.
Well, think about it. What are we doing? Your bone is like this, right? We're pulling traction so it'll go back in line, correct? So is that going to work if it's down by the knee? What's the knee providing us with that mid shaft? So mid shaft is what I mean right in here.
Right.
If we're up here,
Do you have a pillow? Can use
You
a
don't
pillow?
have that stability.
Oh, I'm
at the
fine.
top
My
to
back
be
was
able
just
to-
crazy.
exactly,
That's why I was
stability.
looking
The
at that. I
bone
was
is
like,
the
oh, there
bone
we
is
go.
providing stability. It's providing structure. So if it's down here or down here, we don't
It's
have
better
that
to grab it.
stability.
Usually I get, like,
So
round.
we're concerned with, and you're going to know because there's going to be immediate swelling. They're going to hurt. They're going to scream, and they're going to continue
Ow.
screaming. And guess what? While you're doing this,
So you didn't need an X-ray machine for this one.
you can tell.
Okay.
Now it could be open. If it pops through the skin, we're still going to do this.
Okay.
Okay? But then we have a wound to deal with, which we'll get into.
This is as long as him almost.
Almost. There's a reason.
Got some pretty tall people
I
out
would
there.
think it'd be a good idea to know how to do it before somebody was lying here with their leg needing this. So
I was
this is
waiting
the
on
ankle
that.
hitch.
Yep. That's going to be the last thing you do.
This is, we better not follow the directions.
Well, you could do what the directions say, but the last thing that you're going to apply is the in other words, you're going to be using that ankle hitch because that's what's going to pull
you-
traction. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is going to be a little different than the ones that you have, that you've bought, because the splints that you have are going to have a little thing at the bottom that you turn that mechanically pulls the traction in a ratcheting system. But how big is that splint?
It's like this.
Big old package, big, yeah. It's not something that you can carry
Well, the
portable.
first thing you do is on the directions you put the boot on, but
Yep, go ahead.
it's very not detailed on how. Well, that's what I mean. It just says to put it
I
on
feel
a
like it
picture.
goes like this.
But if you read this part, it says this goes inside. That's why I thought maybe, that's what,
Like that?
I don't know, read that tag. I
Like
thought
his
it
heel
said
sits down in here.
Ow.
this side toward two.
I have a
so
stick. You
I
keep
think
winding.
that might
That's what's gonna happen.
go in, is what I think, but you can't really tell from.
Good to
the
know if
two.
I get hurt, I'm not getting anything.
Right. That sounds like the way my dad used to say things. You quit whining, I'm gonna give you something to whine about.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like,
Were
Dad,
we
my
raised in the
legs,
same house or what?
my legs broke. I don't care.
So what do you think you're going to have to do when you find this and you have somebody laying down? Number one, we're going to have to remove that pants leg at least, right?
Yeah, cut
Yeah,
up
we're
the
not
pant
cutting the
leg.
pants like today.
Scissors. Get the scissors. Cut up the pant leg. That's
Jason,
what they do in the
apply
movies.
60 whole
upper
pants on
thigh
Pop
strap.
Friday.
Do
We're not
not
getting
stretch
on Saturday or
saddles.
Do you
Thursday.
see why I
Correct.
keep scissors everywhere?
Yeah. And those scissors will cut through denim and everything.
Oh, yeah.
This is
I'll
the
cut a
strap,
penny
I
in
think.
half.
The
There you go.
good ones will cut through a big heavy like riding boots, like motorcycle boots, like the Harley Davidson, the big. Believe me, you've got guys. No. Not like I've taken guys who've wrecked on motorcycles and they've got their heavy leather stuff. They're like,
LA police.
no, don't cut it. Just pull it off.
These are
It's going to
Wolverine.
hurt. I don't care. Those pants are $700. No, I don't want. And then seriously, I've done it. I mean, boots I've tried to pull off, and there's been other ones, buddy. I can't pull your boot off. Your foot's going to come with it. We're cutting it off. And they get those $1,000 boots.
Ow.
Randy's dad bought
let's-
him a pair of those for Father's Day like
The directions
10 years
said
ago,
watch
I guess.
the
And if
genitals.
somebody cuts it,
Yeah, let's not hook it to it. That's
Yeah.
a good plan.
absolutely lose his
Because I
mind.
promise you I'm gonna scream a lot more if that happens.
His genitals are little. They don't worry about it.
Let's, you talk about it, you're gonna take the foot off. you talked about that forklift injury.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at the Cincinnati airport on the ramp when I was in college.
So I'm assuming this
And-
thing needs to be fairly tight.
Yep.
Be-
Yeah. We had a guy who was the manager of international cargo that had an accident. Two forks ran into each other, and when it did, it toppled one in the cage, hit him above the ankle, and slammed him to the floor. Well, natural instinct was doing this. He degloved his foot.
So this was on.
30 plus surgeries later,
Yeah.
he still had seepage from that area.
So is it possible that we may be putting a tourniquet on before this?
Maybe, but if you're putting a tourniquet on, I'm not gonna be too worried about doing a traction splint immediately because we've got somebody who's had severe blood loss,
Okay.
and I'm gonna be more worried about the trauma. Now, one of the things that we haven't talked a lot about is in that treatment when we were talking about March, and even with this, and with major injuries, what is some of our aftercare? We talked about we put our tourniquet on, we're gonna pack the wound, we're gonna dress the wound, and then what? What else do we want to treat for? Shock. How can we treat for shock?
Blanket over them?
Cover them. Doesn't matter if it's I have seen people go into shock, and it's hypovolemic shock because of blood loss in 110-degree weather, freezing to death. We're dripping with sweat. I mean, sweat pouring off of us. Patients freezing to death, and we're wrapping them up, keeping them warm because blood loss,
That's how that
right?
happens.
So we have to treat for shock. So every kit I have.
Emergency part.
And when I say every kid, I mean it.
So then
I've got some sort of an emergency blanket, even those cheap little emergency blankets. Yeah. Now this is something, this costs, I don't know, less than $10 from Rescue Essentials. And again, like I said, they do a discount thing. This is their wrap. It's a little bit heavier.
That shows it,
Ow.
Yeah, it's got the Mylar.
But there's just one in there, right?
Correct.
The one that I have, the one that I have at home, they're like half that.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
this is-
yeah. So this is a little thicker. It's a little bit more durable. But
Hammer
if
beat
you
it
can
back
only
down
have
in
those
there.
little Mylar emergency blankets, I've got them. I've got them in every kit.
Firefighters, we don't do
You
it.
want to be able to treat for shock, all right? And that's part of that March algorithm. That's part of the H. Hypothermia, head. It goes together because we want to treat for shock. So the two big things we can do for shock: keep them warm, keep them still. We don't want them exerting themselves because what does exertion do? Pumps our blood pressure up, right? And our blood flow, it makes it harder. The body has to work
So, yeah,
harder. We want the body to rest
What do you
because
think?
it's
I
still
would keep
working
this
hard to
bed
heal
maybe up higher,
itself.
'cause isn't the brake technically like right there?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know who said we could do this with the directions, but now I'm having doubts.
I hate directions.
That's alright, it'll be healed, I just want her to be able to walk again.
So
That's going to be up high on the crotch. So with
so we probably
Gentlemen.
do this longer.
Yep.
be careful and remember, just like we were talking about tourniquets, what else could be in the way?
Stuff in his pockets.
Right.
Yeah, you have full
Right.
crap on my, I'm half full of crap on my pockets.
Whoop, you hold it.
Is this something we do fast?
No.
Or
It takes a little bit of time, even though like the ones that you have, the traction splints. Because I used those for years. I named them. That takes time to do. But this is going to be something that, and it's
You can
impossible
try to
to
count.
simulate that. But when you put
I
that
wish I
bone,
tried on a cow.
when you pull that traction and it snaps back in place, I'm telling you, they're going to be screaming at the top of their lungs. And then when that goes back in
Ow.
place, they're going to go, oh. And they will calm down. You will see their
Yeah.
pulse rate come down, everything. It's amazing how just doing that.
We might just take the leg off.
I think that might be easier. Just
Next lesson, amputation.
Chainsaw.
Chase, get on the floor.
Somebody better give
You're
me a
right.
good bottle of bourbon
Doing it
before
right.
going down that road.
You're just about there.
I just couldn't figure out where the straps go. Like, they obviously have to hook to the. I mean, you
This
must
feels
you
like
bring
a
them to the
thigh ring
pole.
on the wrong side because I'm left-handed.
It says it around me though.
This up here
Well, this seals everything, so the
Yeah.
air has nowhere to go
Yeah.
but into the lungs.
Yeah.
Right? That's what all these are for. So the air's only got one place to go. And we're going to take the bag valve mask and inflate and on the lungs. And when we do the more advanced class, I actually will bring that stuff, and we play with this a lot more to where you get to see it. Usually I don't even teach this in this class. I'm just doing for your small class, and I figured I'd throw in something a little extra.
So, I mean, you said this isn't necessarily the easiest thing, but is that kind of foolproof on a human?
Mhm.
It's going to go in the right spot.
I've literally taken what you just saw me do. I've done it on live patients. I've taken this in. I've taken a patient, do that, and literally they went to the ICU on a ventilator with this still placed. Because it's not invasive, and it's good, and it's much easier to wean a patient off a vent with something like this than it is them fully intubated. Correct?
So then the difference there is unable to breathe due to
They're
some
not
reason
breathing
versus
at all.
blockage that would just open an airway.
Where this is just ensures the airway stays open, okay? A patent airway. We know that they could be breathing on their own. We've got that in there just because we know they're going to keep an airway, right? They'll make sure that they've got a way, nothing's going to block it. Blood, anything like this. This is, they're not breathing at all. We've got to do something emergent where we've got to put this in. We've got to seal this. I didn't do the full 60 cc. Then we attach a back valve mask, and then we're going to breathe them. What do you think our rate would be while we're squeezing that?
12 to 20 per minute.
Right. Right. So squeeze it once every 5 seconds. That's 12 times. It's a minute.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, right? You can buy a bag valve mask anywhere. You attach it on there. Now, remember when you're squeezing that, you're only doing 21% oxygen. That's room air, right? What do you have to hook up to it? What would be ideal?
Oxygen tank.
Oxygen tank. Your oxygen tank over there, hook it up, because then you've got 100% oxygen going in, which is going to help them. That additional percentage of oxygen, that pure oxygen getting in, is going to oxygenate the cells, which is then going to transfer in the lungs and the alveoli, go into the blood cells. That blood is going to circulate through the body, and it's going to feed those oxygenated cells, that pure oxygen, into all of your organs, your appendages, and most important, what? The brain. Which is going to help in healing whatever's going on, whatever caused that, is going to help the body jumpstart to hopefully start breathing on their own. And if they start breathing on their own, you see them trying to take breaths and everything else, you get to a point, deflate it and pull this out. They might cough, choke a little bit, do it kind of quickly, right? And they're going to start, and encourage them, take a breath, breathe on your own. I've seen people wake up with these in, they're like, get this out. Because it's bypassed the gag reflex at this point, all right? But you're breathing for them, and then you can take this out, and hopefully they'll breathe on their own.
I mean, so, I
But
mean.
that's pretty
without-
advanced, you know?
Yeah, without the pure oxygen connected, at least you're getting 21% in there until you. Well,
Pure oxygen
in
is
some
ideal,
places,
right?
Getting to a hospital.
Exactly. Pure oxygen is ideal. Done practice, both. Chase, come back down here and be a dummy, please. If you all want to practice opening the airway, the head tilt, chin lift, the modified jaw thrust, do that on Chase. Practice this.
The King Airway,
Mm-hmm.
when you put that syringe in,
Mm-hmm.
that is where you'll hook your oxygen, right?
To this, no, your oxygen is going to hook to your back valve mask.
Oh, it's got a clip.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
got a tube that comes out that you're going to hook into your regulator, and you're going to turn that up. All right, you're going to have that oxygen flowing in to the back valve mask, because there's the part you squeeze, and then there's kind of like a little balloon. It's a reservoir
Yeah.
that fills up. So every time you squeeze that oxygen's filling up, and then that reservoir fills up again. So it's sucking it out, right? And you're putting that in. Ideally, you want about 500 cc's, which is squeezing that bag is 700.
rise. You
Yeah,
just want
just
some
look at your chest
rise.
rise. So just as soon as the chest rises, that's enough. Just as soon as the chest rises, that's enough. So you're measuring how much you're squeezing through that, because you don't want to overinflate the lung. Why? Because the lungs are what? It's a balloon.
Pop it.
Too much air in a balloon, what happens? Right. So watch that chest rise. As the chest rise, you know you've given enough. Like I said, this is more for the advanced class, but I just thought I'd throw this in for you all to see. You can get these. These are very simple. I've taught these. When these came onto the market, when we started using these in EMS, we could teach anybody to do this.
Yeah.
Literally, the directions that come in it, it's pretty simplified. Again, this isn't rocket science. It's technique and knowing how to use the rest of the equipment that goes with it. Yes, you probably need to have oxygen and stuff. Now, you're out in the wilderness or something like this, you're probably not going to, you can have one of these, but it's not going to do any good unless you have oxygen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Ideally. Especially if this is something that's going to be long term. Because if it's going to be long term, you're going to run out of oxygen in the tank,
Yeah.
right? Unless you have an oxygen generator, which still doesn't give 100% oxygen.
Yeah.
It doesn't generate 100. Or you just happen to have a big old supply of oxygen like a hospital would, giant tanks, and you've got a ventilator. But then we're going in a whole different direction of care and stuff like that. All right?
We need to find some big oxygen tanks.
I say
Her-
helium. Let's just do some helium.
I'm serious.
Come over here,
Marketplace,
practice
I bet we can
practice
find
doing your
some.
nasal airway, because that is something you're carrying, right? That nasal airway, right? That's something you're going to carry in your IFAC, right? Whatever size you have, whether it's a small one, big one, it, you know, and I've got a nasal airway in all of these. Questions about it?
It does go in there like super smooth.
And you're going to use the
it
lubrication,
wouldn't be
like I
that bad to
said.
do
You,
it to
you
you.
get the lubrication on the tip, roll it around, boom, goes right in.
We'll put WD-40 in the throat first.
We're gonna do it, Jake.
Come on.
He needs to brush better. Brush that guy's teeth, Chuck. Hey, I'd be almost game to try it.
What's the
UPU.
Bag valve
think
mask,
so?
BVM. Bag valve mask.
Guaranteed you.
I've seen guys put them in their eyes, just water like all get out.
Try the King Airway if you all want. This isn't hard.
Slide it in, Jake.
It's literally. Keep it right there. Yep, right there. So you can see where it is. Now, there's also what's called a tube holder that you secure this with, okay? This pretty much secures itself. But you have a little thing that clamps around here, and then there's straps that go on around. I don't know what happened. You had one in there.
Now, what do you do when you remove
See,
it?
this is in my kit. Guess what I have in it? I've got the back valve mask. No, we're not opening this because it'll never go back in. But this tube holder, so once it's in there, this goes like this, sits down. And then this is going to go around the patient's neck. All the way around. Like that, and it secures a little piece of Velcro. So it secures it even more. But you saw, even with the balloons inflated, how secure it is, right?
Yeah.
This just ensures it. This is called a Thomas tube holder. See, Thomas. This is what you're gonna see, patients intubated in a hospital on a vent, they're gonna have this secure. You can also tape it.
Yeah.
We used to, before the tube holders, EMS, cloth tape, go around, you wrap it around each side, underneath the neck, we taped it, that's how we secured it.